Hey everybody, it's Charlie from Daily Motor, and I'm here with my buddy Matthew, and he just took our long-term Maverick on an extensive road trip. It was about 1,300 miles or so, 1,200?
Roundabout.
Like good amount of driving.
A lot of driving.
A lot of miles, and he had never driven a Maverick before, not spent too much time in any recent Fords probably.
No.
He's actually the finance manager at Kia of Canton here in Canton, Michigan. So he spent a lot of time in Kias and actually owns a Tesla Model Y, very similar to our old one. But he wanted the opportunity to spend some time in the Maverick, take it out for a little bit of a camping trip. So I told him that's totally fine. My only stipulation is we got to shoot a little video on your thoughts afterwards. So we're going to spend the next few minutes walking around the truck, talking about some of his initial observations, final observations, and we'll go for a quick drive and talk about anything he sort of noticed and his thoughts after spending about a week with the Maverick. So first things first, right off the bat, what did you kind of know about the Maverick getting into it, and what made you, like, what were you thinking before you had driven it?
So I was thrilled because there's like the segment of smaller pickup trucks is a good segment, because there's really, I've tried to narrow down into 3 groups of people who I think should own a pickup truck. One being people who actually need a pickup truck, which is people who tow more than once a year, you know, who can't just borrow a friend's pickup truck.
Yep. Another
one who their country music tells them to have a pickup truck. And then the third being people who want a pickup truck bed, which is
yes.
the reality of it and what came in handy this weekend, because it's just so useful. It's so nice to have, because if the tonneau cover's rolled up or down, you've got the space. I like it.
Yeah, we've got this tonneau cover from Truck Hero, which is now, I think, Real Truck, but Truckcedo, their brand here, this Century CC cover. And it rained quite a bit probably on you guys at different points.
Indeed it did.
Did it keep your stuff mostly dry?
Completely dry.
Awesome, cool.
Completely dry.
Some people have asked about the water kind of protection, the rain protection with this cover, so I'm glad that worked out.
And you can see it's I guess, hard beating in water recently from a car wash here is probably the only thing showing here.
Yep.
But no, I had tried to compare it to, I hadn't spent any time in it, but the Ranger.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, another thing of like a smaller than full-size pickup truck, but this gives you the sensation of not being huge, which I hate. I mean, I hate the idea of like a massive truck.
Right.
But it was easy to get into, easy to drive. I mean, it was nothing out of the ordinary of a normal vehicle.
Okay, so you were looking forward to spending some time with, first of all, something that was gasoline powered, because you were heading up to the UP of Michigan. Not a ton of Tesla superchargers that way, and even if there were, you would have had to stop. I looked at the map, probably about 3 times or so to charge throughout just the trip up there, and then you didn't exactly know what was going to be going on up there, so you wanted something a little bit more reliable than electricity, and this being the EcoBoost motor, just tried and true. Put gas in the car and drive on.
Easy breezy.
Yep.
And I do appreciate you bringing up that I'm a Tesla owner, because legally obligated, I think I'm supposed to bring it up in every conversation. So I thank you for getting that out of the way.
Yep. That's full disclosure right there. So you got the truck. I saw you sent me some photos. You loaded up the back.
Yes.
And were there 2 people or 3 people with you in the truck?
3 of us.
Okay, adults.
Yes.
All full adults. And so you probably put most of your stuff in the back, correct?
All
your gear, camping gear, everything like that, and it all fit?
It did.
Okay.
It did.
Very cool, and you were able to put the tonneau cover down. We've got our bed rug in here as well, which is definitely seeing some use, but that's what we like. Just a few $100s, we put this in here. Keeps things from sliding around quite as bit, kind of dampens the noise versus just having, that.
And easy to clean out too. I mean, I got in here with a leaf blower earlier and just it was done.
Yep, and it kind of provides this little bridge over there, which I like. You wouldn't get that with just a normal spray-in bed liner. And it's kind of funny, the back of your Tesla was full of mulch clippings, and we've had mulch and tree branches and everything in here, and it all just kind of slides right out, which kind of brings into that third category of truck people that you said. Is like, yeah, you're not hauling things necessarily, but that's why we've liked having this truck, is you never know when you're just going to do like homeowner stuff.
It's so convenient, like, because you can do it in the back of a SUV, you can lay down some seats or whatever, but then you've got the situation I've got of just a trunk full of mulch, and it's horrible.
Right. All right, let's hop into the back seat here. So you said you had 3 people.
Yeah, I do have this seat moved back pretty far here.
Okay, all right.
Put us into a more normal human seating position.
Sure. Well, I am back behind the seat set for my 5'10" driving position. You can see as a 5'10" person, got a good amount of knee room. Did your passenger have any comments on the back seat comfort?
So,
because it's not huge back here.
not huge, but not bad.
Okay.
Like, so everybody I was with was over 6 foot.
Wow.
One of the people being like 6'4", maybe. I mean, he's a huge dude. He's a monster.
Yeah.
And he preferred to be in the front.
Okay.
Just because the space-wise.
Yeah.
But as he is a 6'4" frame, there's somebody 6'1", 6'2" was behind him and survived.
Okay. Sure.
It worked.
Did he happen to drop down the little armrest?
Yes, indeed.
Good.
I don't know if this is a pickup truck thing. Do any pickup trucks have like a feed into the bed?
I think the only one that did was the Chevy Avalanche.
That's what I'm thinking of, because it's like the Avalanche had a lot of cool things.
Yeah.
But it was, when you pull this off, the noise insulation from this seat being back is drastic.
Interesting. See, I've never done that.
Oh.
So you pulled this back?
Pull this, and then as you're driving down the road, you'll hear wind noise or road noise so much more. So this seat does a heck of a job.
I wonder if you could like put some sound deadening in there and quiet this cabin up some more. I never even considered that. That's something interesting to think about. Or maybe a subwoofer back there as well.
There you go.
Did you use PowerPoints at all?
Yes, very much so.
All right, did you use this one?
Yes.
Awesome. So you guys had like laptops going or something like that, or?
Honestly, I don't know why we didn't just use the USB ports for charging.
Oh, you just had like a phone charger.
Yeah, it was easier to just, here, look at this.
Okay. How about the little 3D printed, we probably used a cup holder some.
And I have a hydro flask, so it fits perfectly.
Isn't that nice?
Oh, it was thrilling. It was.
Yeah.
I
And
enjoyed
it's so
that.
cool. For any of you who haven't seen, this is just a 3D printed accessory off Etsy that just slides into these neat little things that Ford has put in the Maverick, and you could do a double cup holder setup. You could do just a giant bag setup like that. A lot of different options. It's kind of fun. All right. Any other thoughts on the back seat from when you guys were going?
Not that I can think of.
Okay. All right. Well, to the front we go.
Oh, actually.
Oh.
Sound system. It wasn't a hated on sound system, but we had to adjust the balance in there, because at any volume it was either two. That checks out. Because the person in the backseat was like, why is it so loud? And we're up there like, oh, no, this is conversation.
That's something good to know, because I don't think we've ever had people in the backseat listening to music, but this is a good point. The only two rear speakers are right up here.
Oh, that makes so much sense.
By the head, and that makes sense.
Because we turn the audio all the way to the front, because otherwise the backseat can play the entire time.
Good to know. Good to know. All right. Yeah, this is not a fantastic sound system. We give it a D rating.
Okay.
But the Lariat one above it's about a C. And you're right, it's manageable. It's like, okay, I can listen to my music, but you're not exactly jamming out. It's just like, I'm listening to music.
Good. I'm glad that as an audiophile that you guys are, that
you kind of concurred there.
Yep.
Okay, so first things first, you got in the truck, you picked it up from us. What were some of your initial thoughts? So this is kind of a fun interior.
Very fun interior. The amount of little like cubbies and spots is just impressive. Like, as I was cleaning out the car, like, I didn't even realize this little top spot up here before. Don't know what it's doing there.
Sometimes I use that for like gloves. I'm getting in and just like kind of toss them.
Makes sense. And then the fact that like this little spot here being so convenient.
Yeah.
And come on, it's just so many.
You were impressed by that, right, when you got in?
Very
Isn't
much
that
so.
Nifty?
Yes.
Yep. Because this thing doesn't have navigation or anything like that, but between CarPlay or just being able to slap your phone right up there and practically have a second screen.
Yes.
It does go a long way having that.
And having an Apple CarPlay is just fantastic.
Yes.
I don't know that the screen needs to exist without Apple CarPlay. I didn't have any moment that it wasn't plugged in.
Okay.
Android Auto being less ideal.
Yes.
It handled Android Auto very poorly.
Really?
Like, as many times we would try and be tapping something on the screen.
Okay.
And nothing would happen.
Wow.
And I should have captured it on video, because it was
That's
just
okay.
like,
You're mentioning it now.
Yeah. It became just like a brick at times. Nothing would happen.
Wow.
So,
I'll have to try one of my Android phones at some point on there and see if we get a similar sort of result, because that's interesting.
yeah, never experienced it when I was on Apple CarPlay.
Okay.
Switched it over to Android, and it was rough.
Okay. All right. What else? Your comfort? How are you from the front two seats?
Good. And
Okay.
I'm somebody who drives very close to the steering wheel. You might have noticed when you got in, I kind of had the steering wheel or the seat moved pretty far forward.
Okay.
But I liked it. I'm also a left-handed, one hand on the wheel, elbow on the door kind of guy.
Okay.
And it was the perfect height.
All right.
So I was thrilled about that. There's a lot of cars that ledge by the window is too narrow to even comfortably have an elbow on.
Yeah. And this has a decent amount of padding.
It does.
That's a big thing.
Yes.
We noticed, Chris and I talk about elbow padding, and this car on both the center and the side right here have a good amount of padding.
Definitely.
Now, you said you're over 6 foot. Exactly how tall are you?
No, that's a good question. 6'1", maybe 6'1.5".
Okay.
On Tinder, I'm 6'2".
That's a good thing to know because Alyssa's 5'1",
okay,
and I'm 5'10", so getting a taller person's perspective, spending extensive amount of time in the car.
Yep.
It's good. How about seat adjustability? Like, I mean, there's no lumbar adjustment in this. Was your back sore at all?
I never even changed lumbar in anything, so I'm a horrible person to ask.
Okay, no, you're an average.
I'm a human. Yes,
person. So it is good to kind of just hear that.
So I did like that seat has the up and down control. I don't believe this one does. Is that right? It doesn't. You can't change how high this seat is.
Right there.
That was something I do kind of wish I could change.
Okay.
Just because, I mean, being taller,
you're getting closer.
I feel like it's a little I'm up there.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, the lack of power seats is understandable. I mean,
at this price point.
Yeah,
I mean, this truck costs $29,000.
Yeah, it completely makes sense. So I wouldn't fault it for that by any means.
Okay.
As we were speccing one out, looking at it after we got back because we were so impressed, the Lariat, does that have the power seats?
Yes. Now, I don't know if you have to choose the Lariat Luxury option, and it's also possible that you could get in the XLT with the XLT Luxury Pack.
Got it.
Get power seats. I don't know right in front of me, but yes, the Lariat, you definitely can get the powered seats.
Gotcha.
And that gets you some lumbar adjustment, power. I don't think it's power on the passenger. I want to say it's still a little bit, but you might have height adjustment.
Gotcha.
Sure. Yep.
And it's funny because as much as people talk about power seats, I don't really get it. Because if you're the only person driving the car, you're going to set it once and forget it.
Yeah.
I mean, it only came into play this weekend because there were 3 of us rotating, rather 4 when we had somebody else who drove us to meet us at our destination.
Sure.
So that's the only time where it's like, oh man, it'd be nice to just do quick adjustments, but...
And it's still a legitimate thing because, like, Alyssa and I, for example, whenever she's in here, the seat's jacked way up and the mirrors and everything, and I have to pump it down and pull it back and do the wheel, whereas when we had the Tesla, you simply got in and everything was adjusted for you. It was a quick mirror change and you're off. So that's a good point, that power seats are much more of a big deal when there's multiple drivers.
Totally. Yeah. The other thing is the auto hold is fantastic as somebody coming out of an electric vehicle because I'm so used to sitting at a light and taking my foot off the brake, which is something I get annoyed with when I get back into a normal ICE car, that it's like, oh, okay, I'm rolling around, this is kind of weird.
Yeah, for those of you who aren't aware, this truck has an auto hold feature where as you come up to a light and you come to a stop, it'll engage the parking brake and hold the vehicle there for you so you can take your foot off the brake, and then as you get going again, you just put your foot on the gas, it releases. Very similar to how a lot of electric vehicles have, but new Kias that are ICE probably don't have that feature.
They do.
Oh, they do?
A lot of them do.
Okay, so they are starting to get that as well, so that's just something you appreciate then.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, good to know. Did anything bother you in terms of the powertrain, in terms of power, the stop-start, anything in there?
I've never been bothered by stop-start. I think it's great.
Okay.
When other people were driving, they immediately turn the stop-start off button off.
Okay.
Because turn stop-start off.
Sure.
I don't know. But the powertrain was impressive. I mean, it got good fuel economy. It was capable of getting onto the highway. I mean, there was nothing...
Yeah, you can gun it. This thing gets up and goes.
Absolutely.
It's got enough grunt.
It's not one of those things where a budget-friendly car where you're terrified to merge onto a highway because you can't do anything.
Right.
I mean, those exist.
And you had 3 full-size adults with gear, so to be able to still get up and get going.
Absolutely.
It's definitely good.
We took a short detour through Mexico at some Autobahn-type speeds.
Yes.
And noticed an interesting vibration to the hood. I don't know what sort of...
a little bit of a flutter, maybe?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, of course, that was atypical speeds at times, but it just was a little bit surprising to me. I don't know if Ford ever intended for the vehicle to go that fast, so it,
Fair enough. Yeah, that's something we see in Hondas a lot, is hood flutter, but not something I have noticed on this. What else? Fuel economy, power... Any other annoyances you kind of noticed around the cabin? I do know the Lariat model is a little bit quieter with its sound screen windshield, a little bit extra sound deadening. But from what I've experienced driving this, it's not loud. It's not overly loud or overly quiet. It's just kind of smack in the middle.
Yeah.
For this sort of car.
There was a few times where, and of course, coming out of an electric vehicle, I'm somewhat extra conscious of this.
Yep.
It had sort of a loud idle.
Ah.
It felt like.
Okay.
It felt like I'd be sitting there, and maybe that's why I liked the auto start stop.
Mm-hmm.
There would just be a noise.
Okay.
And that's it. I mean, I've driven enough gas cars recently to still be conscious of being in a vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it is just that lack of sound deadening around.
Okay.
But that's just one thing I noticed there.
Cruise control, didn't mind having standard cruise control? No adaptive?
Well, yeah, adaptive cruise control is definitely desirable.
Yep.
That would be the dream to have on every vehicle, because I just think that should be the standard. It's phenomenal.
Okay.
The pre-collision avoidance beeped at me once in a shocking way. I didn't think that we were anywhere close to a collision, so we thought maybe it was just giving us a premonition that in the future there could be a collision eventually. So be wary as you continue to drive.
All right. I've always been a fan of the the kind of lane keeping assist. It's not like full on autopilot or anything, but as you do kind of get close to the line here, it sort of nudges you back.
Yeah.
And I've sort of liked that kind of passive approach of like no beeping, which you could turn a beep on.
Okay, and that's what I was going to ask, if there was a beep to be had with it, because I hate the beeping.
Mm-hmm.
My brother's got a Subaru.
Oh my gosh, those beep all the time.
It's constant.
Yes.
It's just like a symphony of beeps.
Yes.
And so the fact that it didn't beep at me, I liked to have it on just because I'm a little bit more impressed with Kia's lane keep assist.
Oh my gosh, Hyundai, Kia, they have the best highway driving assist.
Their highway
even
driving
in their
assist, lane
simple
keep
cars,
assist is just phenomenal.
Yes.
And so being a little bit pampered with that before it makes it feel a little bit different. But
yeah, and you can get that all the way down to Kia Rio.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, which is crazy to me.
It really is.
Any other thoughts and observations? You said you had a good amount of space for all your stuff, which is something I've always loved about the Maverick.
Yes.
Oh, little GoPro battery swap there. But yeah, I like having all of the space. The rotary shifter kind of just, once you get used to it, it allows for all the space to be opened up. You don't have to deal with a big shift. I mean, think about a shifter would take up all this space, then you have to move the parking brake, and I'm always impressed still after almost a year of ownership that you can put things here, in there, in the doors, up here, sunglasses holder. Like, it really adds up.
Everywhere. Yeah. And by not having that shifter, it does make this space usable, where like it just wouldn't be if there was a big,
Yep.
It wouldn't
100%.
work.
Yeah.
Now, have you driven the hybrid drivetrain?
Yes.
How does it compare?
It's smoother in a lot of ways because you're never shifting. It's just a CVT, just progressive
it is a CVT.
power.
Okay.
Yep. I like that. And it doesn't sound as good. It's an Atkinson cycle motor, meaning it's a little more grainy, and it just kind of not as pleasurable of a classic sound there. I kind of like the turbo noises that you get out of this one.
It does have very noticeable turbo noises. It made me laugh a few times because I didn't anticipate to actually like hear it.
Yep.
Oh, it was funny.
Yep. But I really like how easy it is to get phenomenal fuel economy with the hybrid.
Yeah.
Just normal city, easy around town driving, you're getting high 30s.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah, which is really cool. 87 octane, everything. It's a very easy car to drive. I think the biggest downside for a lot of people is just the fact it's front wheel drive only, which I don't mind. For me, I would have done either this one, getting the 4K tow, or I would have done the hybrid. The only reason for me to get the full gas motor was to get that 4K tow package, because you can only tow 2,000 with the hybrid.
And what's the towing capacity?
4,000.
Oh, well, that makes it 4K tow.
Yep.
Checks out.
Yep. But no, I think the hybrid is the one a lot of people should go with. If you have a little bit of, that's classic Ypsilanti right there. Okay. If you have a little bit of snow in your area or inclement weather, maybe just throw on some winter tires and then just send it with the front wheel drive model.
Yep.
Yeah, I think my ideal spec would be, if I were going to own one of these for a while, would be hybrid with just the Lariat. the normal
No
Lariat.
luxury.
Probably not luxury. No, I mean, I guess part of me at that point is like, well, why don't you just spend it all and get the whole thing? But then you're looking at, you got to start considering what other vehicles you could get at $35,000.
Interesting, yeah.
Whereas this does so much for me in terms of having a truck that can tow 4,000 pounds. That's an EQS back there. Can tow 4,000 pounds, can put all that stuff in the back. You got all-wheel drive, and still gets pretty decent fuel economy, all things considered. Is easy to drive with the smaller size like this, and only cost us less than $30,000. Like, I'm about that.
So as you creep into a higher price point, what would you consider at that point?
You got to start thinking of the Honda Ridgeline.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because if you're talking mid-30s, that would get you into a Ridgeline that has more towing capability, more interior space, nicer interior accoutrement. So, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, this is a budget vehicle. It's a very functional budget vehicle. But you still got to kind of consider that. Whereas if you're at the top end of a Maverick, you start looking into, well, you could get a Ranger, you could get a Colorado, you could get a Tacoma, you could get a Ridgeline. You could even get a really basic F-150 depending on how you spec it for not too much more. So something to play with, and I think it really comes down to what's your use case. If you're doing a lot of commuting, I think the Maverick still makes a lot of sense, especially in hybrid form.
Yeah, that all checks out.
Yeah. So you said your brother, who was on the trip with you, was seriously interested in getting one of these.
Yeah, he was thrilled when he found out that this is what we were going to be taking up there. Like, he was so excited.
That's cool.
And he wanted to be the first to drive. I mean,
Okay.
he got out of the gate with it, and he really liked it. I mean, this was the first experience he'd even had being in one.
Sweet.
Thought it was cool. His Subaru, I think he's got the Forester Sport, has all the orange accents and stuff. Or
That does
maybe
it for him.
Outback, I don't know which one he has.
Yep.
But it's got all the same orange accents. It's adventure style, which is right up his alley. And driving it, he loved it.
Cool.
It was really actually one of his first experiences using Android Auto, which he was a little frazzled by the infotainment that we talked about.
That's unfortunate.
But he still thought it was great. He went home and spec'd one out and is planning to order one. I mean, it made that much of an impact to him.
Cool.
And I think he felt the same about the color as I did. It was like, it's such a fantastic color. And it actually hid kind of dirtiness a little bit.
It does.
Because it's not super shiny, it's not matte, but it's like, okay, well, this is kind of a easy to own color.
Yes, I fully agree. There are a month or so we'll go without washing this, a month or two, and Alyssa does driving down dirt roads and everything, and if I really look, I'm like, oh yeah, there's a little bit of a film over it. It's a little dusty, but you really don't notice it much. And the plastic cladding helps with that a little bit. It doesn't get dirt quite up onto the paint necessarily. Yeah, Area 51 is a great color. Alyssa really likes it. I could take it or leave it. I like it. I don't love it, but a lot of people do really love it. It's very much the in color right now, that kind of that bluish grayish combo.
And this might be sacrilegious to say or something, but I don't like that it shares a color with the Bronco Sport.
Really? You don't want to match the...
I'm not a Bronco Sport guy. And then every time I see the Bronco Sport in Area 51 blue, I'm like, oh, how dare you have such a cool color.
I hate to tell you, man, but this is a Bronco Sport with a bed.
Well, the bed makes it cool, all right?
Yeah, well, cool. I've been happy with it. I think spending now 10,000 miles with the truck, we still have very few complaints, especially at this price point, and it's cool to hear someone, multiple people actually, who were not familiar with it, getting behind the seat and having mostly positive things to say.
Yeah.
How about the rubber steering wheel? Did that bother you at all?
My brother, actually, he works in driver airbags.
Okay.
So he was like dissecting it. And he pointed out to me that it was rubber and all the different rubber components and how all the way down to sort of where the steering column is all going to be one piece with the plastic planted in. Kind of cool. I would have never considered it. I mean, in my mind, everything's pretty much the same in terms of steering wheels these days. The rubber feels enough of a leatherette type thing.
Sure.
That it works out.
Well, and it's interesting, when I first was spending time with the truck, first few months we had it, that was the rubber steering wheel was kind of an annoyance of mine, because I knew a higher trim would get the leather steering wheel. But then I drove a Lariat with the leather steering wheel, and the leather's not that premium, so it doesn't feel that different. It's not like we're talking about like Lexus leather or anything. It's still a cheap leather feel, so now I'm more at peace with the rubber steering wheel.
And it's not an offensive rubber. It's not like it's plastic or that it feels, because I mean there's old work trucks that you
Yeah.
feel that on, you're like, okay, this is, you know, it's meant to be cheap.
Yep. And
This
hopefully
doesn't
this
feel
will
that
just
way.
be durable because it's
There you go.
rubber. So cool.
Well, thank you for letting me take it this weekend and
Absolutely.
experience all of it. It's pretty fantastic.
Good. Thank you for sharing your thoughts. And I'm glad it worked out for you. It was cool seeing some of those cool photos
Yeah.
of you up in Michigan's Upper Peninsula and having it all loaded up. And yeah, it really does do a lot with the small footprint. And you never had to feel like you're driving a big cumbersome truck getting in and out of the city and everything like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you all so much for watching. Thank you to Matthew, working at Kia of Canton. If you don't want to buy a Maverick and you do want to buy a new EV6 GT, call him up
That's
at
right.
Kia of Canton and he'll get an order in for you and hook you up. Thank you all so much for watching, and we will see you on the next one. I'm Charlie with Daily Motor, and as always, drive on.